Ta-da. I screwed up the last time. I promised myself I wouldn't do that again. Could always delete the whole deal, but gotta have it first. In any event, how are you doing?
Day's good. How are you?
Good. I didn't get a chance to send over that stuff to you. I will later on today.
Not worried about it. I know where
I'll
to
send
find
it over
you.
batch by batch, and you can kind of thumb through it. If it doesn't make sense, that's fine. Just let me know. And if it does make sense, that's good too, because
Great.
supposed to.
I'm not worried about it. I'm sure it'll make perfect sense. So, but yeah, thanks. Whenever you get a chance. It's fine.
Terrific. Well, part of what I wanted to chat about was some of the things we talked about yesterday in terms of things that are going to be going on at the Printing United show, and also where we as textile printers fit in with the new Printing United deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do have a few more joining us, which is really good. And I'm not sure if that really looks like Sean, but he'd like to believe he looks like that, but that's okay.
You know, when people get my business card, this is on the back of it. And every single person that I say, hey, my picture's on the back of the card, they laugh.
Gee, I wonder why.
You kidding me? Look at that mug.
Oh, you know what? You look just like the back of your card.
Yeah.
There you go. How are you doing?
Wonderful.
Well, that's terrific.
This is the way I really look in real life.
Yeah. Oh, I got a shirt I want to share with you that we actually had to take off the floor.
Okay.
That is very similar to that.
Why'd you have to take it off the floor?
What is the good thing to say? Political correctness.
Oh, okay.
Can you here? I'll put the front part towards you.
I'm gonna
Yes.
kick your ass and get away with it.
Wait
Oh,
with it. Well, so what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
I would wear that shirt. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Well, you know, there's a lot more people that are sensitive. Oh, Charles missed that one.
oh,
Ah.
he was there the whole time. He was
I saw it.
Okay.
Listen, we all want to sign up for one of those. We don't really care what other people think.
Here's another one I had to
You're
take
down.
off the floor.
Oh,
Can you read it, Charlie?
I can. Camp Morningwood. Oh,
Wow.
got it. Took a moment.
Okay.
Sorry. It's earlier here than it is there. So it did take a moment.
welcome, Cassie.
So besides
boys' club.
pornographic stuff, what else are you printing?
Well, we just got back from a vacation, which was well
I know.
deserved.
I sent you a email, but got the response that you were out of town and unavailable.
Yes, we went up to Maine and then drove through New Hampshire and then flew out of Vermont. But
Nice.
when we were there, we I don't know, have you ever heard of Liberty Graphics?
Yes.
Okay, so they were in
Alright.
Liberty, Maine. We saw a lot of their product in the Acadia National Forest shops, and they're
Okay.
all real nice and like. Oh, actually, yeah, I got them right here. Look at that.
You bought a
But-
t-shirt?
You know, it's pretty bad when a screen printer buys a t-shirt.
I know.
I think this is such a cool design. It's so basic, but yet it's really, they got the really cool ore colors and the stripes in it and the grains, but they do all water-based and discharge. This was another fun one that is just a designer, a crazy designer. It's the Sasquatch, but if you look closely at it, it's all different animals and
Nice.
pieces in it. And that got me thinking about, because they said that they use like about 30 different designers, you know, because everything can be done virtually. And they they give the designers the credit on the design, and that they'll sell in the parks, and they give them a percentage or $1 per shirt that they sell. But it was cool because it was a good working trip, just because we got to tour the place and see how they do it. I'm really surprised they put out the product they do, because their washout tank or their washout booth is non-existent.
Uh,
But
yeah,
I don't
you
want to
never
take
know
all the
what
time.
comes out of a shop.
What do you mean it's not existent?
Can I share anything with you on here?
Charlie's
you
gonna give you
can.
permission.
Being recorded, and what we can do is sue you later.
Oh, well, I went to a different
As
shop.
long as there's no, never mind. Go
There's
ahead.
not like my shirts.
Is Tom Opper still in charge?
No, they are now an employee-owned co-op,
Ah,
Ah, that's
but
interesting.
he's still got his mitts and everything, it sounds like. He
I
wasn't the
haven't-
one that gave us the tour. I forget who it was.
last time I visited was probably 25 years ago. So I
Okay.
haven't seen them in a long time.
But in New England, you know, you got the 100-year-old house, and they just keep building more sections on. and
Right.
that's what happened there. I mean, we went through and up and down through, like, felt like 5 different parts of a house.
But he's always been a commune kind of company.
Yes. They did have a really cool pass-through system for their screens. Let me go back. I missed that.
So Cassie, while
Lord.
we're waiting, sounds like a type of shop that you may want to get in touch with.
I was actually thinking the same thing. I was like, how do I get their contact information?
Well, Sean can get it to you, or Richard can, but
Yeah.
you know, the whole idea of an employee-owned shop is something that's not new, but there aren't very many of those.
Right. No, I would, that would be
Number
awesome.
3, Main Street in Liberty, Maine.
There we go.
And there you have it. And we're all frozen in time here. Ah, there we go. Everybody's moving again. Well, almost.
Can you allow me to share my screen real quick?
Go for it.
Well, no, you got to give me permission.
Oh,
On your
how do I
side.
do that?
Go down the bottom where it says share screen, and then allow participant.
Okay. One participant can share at a time. Is that it? Or multiple? There we go, multiple.
There we go. Let's try that. All right.
Great. Now, if I can get you back,
Well, I'll come back. You see the spray out?
I've lost you.
Do you hear me?
I can see the spray out sync,
Okay.
and
So-
on the right, I see all the participants. So I see
And
everything.
you see, do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So they actually put a pulley system on their spray out wand to help reduce fatigue, which is not a bad idea because it'll absorb all that weight if they're running through a lot of screens every day. They do all their separations themselves, but this is the part I don't know how it actually drains, because it looks like this is Frankenstein so much. They've got they do a lot of, it looks like I think they do 4-color process with discharge, and it's amazing that, I guess I know, because it is a little bit more forgiving with finer details and maybe some pinholes, but they got a whole little section to, you know, cover up and harden the pinholes. And I'm just like, well, if you might get a cleaner or complete spray out booth, that may take care of it.
Yeah, that's horrendous.
I mean, that is holes in the bottom of the fiberglass. And then let's see if I can. That's their washout for all their squeegees and stuff.
I'm
Let me go
missing
back.
all of this.
Oh, don't worry, you'll see it later. This is
Hey,
their
Charlie,
wash.
you might have to do a drop down on the screen share and change it to his.
Presenter or whoever's talking.
Oh,
And this
Okay.
is the one
Thanks,
that they
Richard.
use to clean out the stencils after they're exposed. And I don't know, they said they use a sponge to help them with it. And I'm like, I don't know why you would use that. But
there's no accounting for what some companies do. I mean, they seem, something works for them, they continue doing it. They're using water-based. I don't know why they would use a sponge. You can just hose everything off.
yeah. And I didn't ask them more details, but they don't they wouldn't consider doing a CTS. And I would think with all the stuff that they're doing, that would really be a time saver because they got a lot of screens. And everything they do is usually are quite a few colors. But it was cool to see it. And to see the type of work that they put out. And I mean, they are only retail, so their customers are selling their product. So they don't do contract work or anything like that.
Good for them that they can pull it off that way. I mean, there's no reason not to. Obviously, they're in an area where they've got quote unquote a lot of tourist stuff going, and so having been in many shops, I'm sure Richard has the same thing. You go into some of them and you wonder how they do what they do based on what you see, but somehow they get to pull it off. And trying to convince them to change to something that's better is just not going to happen very easily. But
They
So
they never had the feeling, and I'm not saying this to be critical. They weren't we want to embrace technology. They like the craft part of it. That they were people that ran away to Maine or lived in Maine all along. They were a world apart. And that's the spirit, the culture they embraced.
yeah.
I'm a little disappointed in that sink, but it's the craft. It's a people-oriented place, not technology-oriented. So I don't, but remember, I haven't seen or spoken with any of those people since 1998.
Now
So
they
it's a long
also
time.
had just started doing tea towels. And they said that's taken off dramatically. But their themes are very nature and they got hummingbirds and flowers and they look beautiful. But they said they've been selling a ton of those, which I mean, if you've got that market or that exposure to be able to sell it, why not?
true.
So Cassie, I'm sorry, I've talking the whole time. It's your show.
I like listening to you guys talk. It's good to hear what everybody's up to and what the shops are up to, and keeps me updated.
So one of the things Cassie and I chatted about yesterday was the upcoming Printing United show. And the fact that Printing United is now trying to do a little bit more back to the textile side and the screen print textile side of things, which obviously all of us are involved with. Because for the last couple of years, to be honest with you, we were totally the bastard child. And, I guess my question always comes down to, what's being done to change that, since at one time we may still even dominate the industry as far as screen goes, or any part of the industry as being the biggest part of it, yet we're probably the most I shouldn't say the most overlooked, but we're quite overlooked based on our size.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Charlie, like you said, you and I talked extensively about this yesterday. I mean, so you know, I joined up with Printing United last year, so it's been 1 year. So same story, right? Like we know that it's largely been ignored. Like we acknowledge that. It's a lot of reason why I joined, why Josh Caruth joined, why a few other people joined the team is, you know, the apparel, the textile industry should be recognized as printers. So, you know, I work pretty heavily on the media side. So we launched Apparelist. I don't know. I think everybody here is probably pretty familiar with Apparelist at this point. But that's like a digital publication. So that's kind of like step one in towards acknowledging, you know, the textile, printers out there. So, you know, Apparelist is really geared toward, and Charlie, I thought that you really said this really well. Not necessarily the hows, like the technical steps, like y'all know how to screen print for the most part. Most of the people we're talking to know how to screen print. But you know, why do we do things the way we do it, you know, as shops? Like why are certain things done a certain way? You know, what is it about the process that makes it cool and unique? What is it that can make it better? So that's like so interesting, Sean, that you were talking about, you know, the shop that you visited and seeing how they do things a little bit differently or set it up differently. That's a lot about what we talk about on the Apparelist. So that's like the way we address it on the media side.
And we do it the way we do it because that's the way Charlie and Richard told us to do it.
And don't you ever forget that.
Yeah, never.
Hey, I would trust if I had a screen printing shop, I'd probably trust Charlie and Richard to tell me what to do.
I don't
What's
know if I
the,
would, but nevertheless.
what's the website for the Apparelist?
So it's apparelist.com. Keeping it simple. Yeah. You head on over there. You see a lot of different stuff. We kind of, you know, we just launched in January 2022.
One L or two L's?
So APPARELIST. I should know how to spell that, right? Put me on the spot.
One L.
One L.
One L.
Oh, there she
Two
is.
P's.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yeah. So that video that you see pop up on the home screen, that's kind of like our news. We do a little news rundown every week of, you know, kind of what's going on, not necessarily in just the decorated apparel industry, but kind of like apparel at large. So like it, you know, I mean, in some of the stories, I'll talk about how Adidas is furthering its sustainable practices or whatever, or we'll talk about like how Kornit holds a fashion week, you know, those sorts of things, just like real quick rundown of things that, you know, we think are cool, kind of fun, you know, things to pay attention to. But then obviously you'll see like we got these articles on like DTF and we have stuff about, you know, contract screen printing work, lots of cool stuff there. So I highly recommend if you haven't like signed up for our newsletter, do it. It's just a really quick once a week catch up on the industry kind of thing.
Filling it out as we talk.
I love it. That's what I like to hear. I mean, I'm not self-promoting or anything. Shameless plugs.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, well, you should be plugging. Now, if I can only.
Right.
I'm screen sharing. No,
Messed
I
it all up
lost
for you.
I lost everything, but okay.
I see your desktop.
You see mine?
Yeah.
I don't see a damn thing right now. You know, there are certain things that I should probably not do. Being on a computer is probably one of those things. Let me see if I hit stop sharing. Hey,
There you go.
Hey.
all right. You know, computers and I just never got along well. I muscle my way through whatever it is. I have no clue why I did something at work, and why something doesn't work. But nevertheless, here we are. In any event, we were chatting about Printing United. Some of the things that we were looking into or just kind of talking about is getting, well, for example, this year there are no seminars, et cetera, that I know of. And so we're chatting about next year, if we do seminars, how do we get more people involved? Do we get the members of the academy involved, which Richard and I are both members of? to put together a program that maybe, knowing that Printing United is not really geared to the person who's contemplating getting into screen printing, but those who are already in it. Okay, those contemplating getting in would be going to some of the other shows, and so putting together a program that kind of follows a logical pattern from screen making, or even from marketing, perhaps, to screen making, to some of the trends that are apparent at that time. Obviously, those are things that change. I guess my question is, what do you guys think about something of that nature? And will you be going to Printing United?
Well, I was hoping to go because they're going to have a mentor meetup. So I've been mentoring with a guy out of St. Louis, and just talking about his processes, but I will be getting a hip replacement on the 20th.
Uh-huh. Let me know how that goes, because I'm probably looking at something of that nature besides my knees getting replaced. Should have my head replaced, but that's besides the point.
Well, they say you get them replaced when you use them up, so we'll.
I think I used mine up a long time ago, but so you're going in, how long do they feel that you're going to be out? They're pretty
I won't
fast
be in the
about those
office for
things
2
now.
weeks, but that you'll be walking around the next day, supposedly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe even
and-
that day sometimes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I gotta walk upstairs to get to the bedroom after I get back, so
You
I'm
mean
not
your
gonna put a
wife won't
bed on
carry-
the.
Your wife won't carry you?
No, no, Laura will not carry
What
me.
about that Superman thing? You can fly up the stairs.
She said we'd need an electric lift, maybe even 2.
Well, sorry you won't be there. You're going to be at the January show, you think?
I'm hoping to be at that one. Yeah, I'm this 2023. I'm hoping to be at a lot more of them. But I'm heading to. So if any of you are going to be in Houston, Dallas, I forget which one it is. One of them on the October 10th through the 12th. I'll be there at PPAI.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But yeah, that should be fun. And that'll be my last hurrah before the holidays.
And October 20th is when you go in for your hip.
I thought you were supposed to be coming here.
I am. As a matter of fact, I will be there the week after SGIA. I mean, after Printing United.
Okay. So I can call you. You can bring me some tacos.
You know what? Let me just double check, because give me one moment. I'll tell you. I'm supposed to be there. Actually, I'm going to be there while you're in Houston or Dallas or whatever. I get in on the 11th and leave on the 14th.
Oh, I'll be back. I'll be back on the 12th.
Oh, okay. Well, I get in on the 11th. And I'll be there until the 14th.
All right, good. We'll reach out.
And I haven't booked anything yet, so I'm going to be with Eric on the 12th and 13th, and maybe I can catch you on the 14th for a while, and then catch a later in the day flight back home.
We'll figure something out.
So I'll chat with you about that, because I haven't booked that yet. So
Yeah.
I'm good on that.
So-
Charles, are you gonna be going to any of the shows, or are you just buried in work?
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't make Printing United this year. We usually go to all of them, and we're not gonna be able to this year. And I'm not sure about the show in January, because that one we usually can't get to because we have basketball season that starts at that time for a lot of our schools, and so we do a lot of uniforms at the same exact time.
Yeah.
So we usually can't make that one, but you usually go to Printing United every year, just not this one.
Oh, we'll fill you in on what goes on, if nothing else.
Yeah,
You need to start
I'm gonna
wearing your
miss it.
belt.
especially I know. I'm gonna miss it, especially being in Vegas. I love when it's in Vegas. It's fun.
So Cassie, where are you?
I live in Colorado. So it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to get to Vegas for me. So,
Yep.
Oh, no kidding.
yep. Yeah, actually, I don't live that far from Charlie.
No, I mean, we had coffee yesterday.
We did.
And so on my side of town, so next time we're on Cassie's side of town, which take all of about a half hour to get to.
Not
something
bad though, because I
it
mean, I
depends.
live closer to the
I take
mountains.
it back. Early in the, well, you were coming in towards Denver, so you were
Uh-huh.
going, you were hitting traffic. I would be going against the grain.
Hmm.
So for me, it would be a lot faster than what it was for you.
Yeah, I mean, you never know with the Denver traffic though, because I'll tell you what, coming back yesterday was just crazy. So
Is
many
that
people.
right?
Oh yeah, I could not believe it. It's insane.
Uh,
So, I mean,
you
who
know,
doesn't want to be here though? I get it. Yeah, well, we have so many people coming in.
it's part of the deal. You
It
know,
is.
you get on I-25 and you never know what you're gonna end up with.
It's true. That's true. It's true. But yeah, no, I mean, I got a second, Charles, what you said. I mean, in Vegas, I'm pretty pumped. It's a great location. I mean, who doesn't want to go there for a show and have a little fun on
So,
the side?
you
Yeah,
know, while we're in Vegas, I mean, Richard and I will be going to the Academy dinner, right? I think that's
The
on Thursday.
lunch. So the
Oh, it's a
lunch in
lunch.
the middle of
It's
the
a lunch.
workday.
Yep, you're right. It's a lunch this year. You know, if you're going to contemplate maybe doing something with Academy members, you might speak to Marcy about popping in and just kind of throwing it out there, just to see what kind of response you get.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, like Charlie, we talked about this. Like, I would love to chat more with the members of the academy, utilize the knowledge more. Just really get inside that and dive into what you guys have to offer, which is so much. So again, this is my first exposure directly with the academy. Just in terms of working with Printing United Alliance. So really excited. I mean, I would love to sync up with all you guys and get some stuff hammered out.
Yeah,
Marshall Atkinson and Alan Howe are starting a project where they're going to try and interview everyone in the academy. So I know that they're trying to take advantage of foreign visitors that they wouldn't normally be able to see, or people that are not so computer literate that they are having trouble with Zoom.
yeah, and actually, Bruce Ridge also started doing that, 2 years ago, and
I
has
think more
worked his
than,
way
yeah,
has worked his way through some of the Academy members, not all yet. But certainly, I think if you can pop in, you might check it with Marcy, because that would certainly be the right person to deal with.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many members will be there. I'm assuming that there will be some from overseas. Certainly, Kaza usually shows up. Alex every now and then. Zuckerman, Alex Zucker.
Zuckerman.
Zuckerman. Why I spaced out his name, I don't know. But we usually get a handful of foreigners that do come in for it. That we don't seem to have any restrictions on any of the European companies coming in. And we really don't have much from the Asian side or anything, do we, Richard?
No, we've got, I forget her name right now, the editor of the Asian magazine. I forgot
Yeah.
the title of that too. They used to take my old stuff and convert it into Japanese or Chinese.
Yeah.
Send me a copy of the magazine, and I couldn't read it, but there's my picture.
It's funny. I was asked to speak at a show in China, and so I had to submit my whole song and dance 3 months in advance so they could translate it into Mandarin, Cantonese, and Japanese. And of course, they gave me the program. And it's like, oh, and they said, when you do your presentation, you cannot deviate, because if you do, they won't know what the hell you're talking about. And you know what? It was the most difficult presentation I've ever made, because I actually had to read what I wrote, which was horrible. Normally we're so accustomed just getting up and kind of freelancing it and freewheeling. And this was like brutal, man. It was like, okay, never want to do this again. I'd rather work with a translator next time.
In 1995, Charlie and I worked a trade show in Mexico City, Cinemundo, in which we had live translators. And it would take about 20 seconds, but then they'd laugh. People would laugh.
Yes.
So the joke made it through.
You know, what's funny is when you work with a translator and they don't know screen printing, and so you're saying underlay and they're translating it literally, and people are saying, what the hell are they talking about? But when I do stuff in Mexico, I have a guy who's a screen printer who's excellent at translating and is a screen printer, so he actually can answer some of the questions when it comes up, as opposed to having to go through a whole song and dance of stating the question in Spanish and then trying to give the answer, which then goes back. You know, it's those are things they never prepared me for when I was in college.
What, public speaking on industry terms within screen printing? They
You know, it's
didn't have a
funny.
class on that?
When I was in college, I got a C in speech, and I thought that was the greatest day of my life. I won't ever have to get up in front of anyone and speak again. Yeah, well, you know, life has its way of changing things up on you.
And now you can't stop them.
You know, it's one of those things you end up doing something for a living that you never expected to, and you end up doing the things that were a horror back when you were younger, and that's what you end up doing for your day-to-day, for your livelihood. I mean, I know you must have grown up wanting to be an ad specialty guy, but you know, I'm looking for the first person that, you know, was 12 years old saying, when I grow up, I want to be a screen printer, man. Woohoo! Just doesn't happen. Although now that they're teaching more in school, I guess there is a outside shot at it. But
One of my most satisfying training sessions was with people from Japan when I was working for Don Newman at Stretch Devices. And that was entirely silent. They were taking movies, and I got jokes that they would understand. You could tell they were understanding when they would do the things that I exaggerated, such as clicking the lever on the torque wrench to show that now you're going in the other direction, putting the pencil behind the ear so you always know where your pencil is, and having the Japanese ladies cover their mouth and chuckling, knowing they got it, and the man who made the movie embracing me at the trade show. So,
you know, it's funny, when I had my shop back in the 70s, we were doing bootleg rock and roll. So I get a call from the Screen Printing Association that there's a group of Japanese screen printers and they're going to be in Brooklyn. Can they come to your place? And I'm thinking, I'm in the middle of Bed-Stuy, but if they want to come, no problem. So they come in. They took pictures of everything. I mean, the dirt on the floor, etc. We gave them all rock and roll shirts to take home, which was kind of funny because obviously if anybody knew where they came from, we would be in deep trouble. But they were an interesting group. And then the company, the head of the whole thing was a guy by the name of Mr. Kumazawa. And if you know anything about Japanese screen printing, Kumazawa Screen Print is a massive, magnificent graphic shop. And he and his wife were part of this group. And they were definitely the money people because they had curly hair. And that was a sign of wealth because they could get their hair curled. Kind of funny. But definitely, you know, they were not predominantly textile printers. They were more graphic printers, but just going to a shop is what they wanted to do. And so they came to my place. Thank God none of them got mugged on the way there. But moving along, in any event, Cassie, talk to us. Are there things that any of us can help you out with in terms of some of the things that you're involved with on the garment side?
Yeah, always, first of all. Because look, you know, it's no secret. I don't own a shop. I don't screen print on a daily basis. I don't do that stuff. I write about it. I talk to you guys. I see it. I visit shops. Any content you guys have, Charlie, we were just talking about this. you guys have articles or you have content or you have ideas or even images that are just awesome, we want to talk about it, like get in touch with me. So, you know, I want to talk about it. I want to figure out how we can just better the community. So yeah, Richard, you and I have talked about this. You have just tons of articles and information, you know, that you've done over the years. It's certainly worth sharing. And I know we're working on getting those back online and all that good stuff. But hey, look, at the end of the day, it's just about it's about bettering the community for me. Like I make this personal. So any way that we can help facilitate the conversation or get content out there, I'm going to find a way to make that happen. Right. And it's with working with people like you guys to just get it out there. So yeah, any of that stuff. You know, I actually wanted to make a comment, Charlie, just kind of returning to the expo side of things. There will be, you know, seminars there, just not in like the traditional sense. So they'll be presented on what we're calling the Future State Theater. So it'll just be kind of like a rolling schedule of like presentations and stuff like that. So even if you want to get involved in things like that, I mean, certainly reach out to me, you can reach out to Josh Caruth. He works heavily on the expo side. We're willing to have the conversation, right? So, you know, any way that, you know, if you have ideas, bring them to us. If we have ideas, we're gonna bring them to you. It's about talking, about having conversations. You know, Charlie, you gave me some great feedback yesterday when we had coffee. I mean, anytime you have feedback for us, whether it's good feedback, bad feedback, we want it. So, you know, I mean, all my contact information is listed on our site, you know, theapparelist.com. But certainly, you know, through word of mouth, don't be afraid to share my contact information with people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Silence has taken over. Oh, there you go. Go ahead, Sean.
I mean, that's my spiel.
So
That's my elevator
if,
pitch.
if you ever want to just get hands-on experience, just let us know and you can come over to Georgia and we can set you up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they gonna let you do any kind of traveling in terms of going to shops and stuff?
Yeah. I've already done a couple of shop visits. When Shirt Lab was happening in Chicago earlier this year, I piggybacked a bunch of shop visits off of that. Have done a few visits in like Ohio, obviously in the Denver area because that's easy. But certainly like even Georgia, like we have several teammates who live in Georgia who we could, you know, we could facilitate some visits. I mean, it's worth it to me to be on the ground in your shops and meeting with you guys face to face. So yeah, that's always a conversation that's on the table. As far as I'm,
Josh lives in Georgia, doesn't he?
yes,
Yeah.
Yep. He sure does. So yeah, no, Sean, I'll have to get your contact information.
Oh, well, I just requested a connection on LinkedIn also,
There you
so
go.
you'll get my information that
Love
way.
it. Love it. Yeah. And actually, it's funny when you were talking about the shop in Maine. My husband is from the East Coast. He's from New Hampshire, and his mom lives in Maine. So I'm like, just you know, if we're out there on vacation, I'm just gonna stop by.
Yeah, it was funny because we walked in, they have a retail store in a town with no stoplights. It's that
Right.
small. And I go in and it's this young lady working the counter. I'm like, well, where do you do your screen printing? And she goes, a couple houses up the street. And I said, well, great. You know, is there any way we can get a tour? And she goes, oh, well, we have scheduled tour dates on the website or something like that. I'm like, no, I'm a special person. I'm actually a screen printer. So she called over there, told them, I gave them my card, did the whole picture on the back thing.
Mhm.
And the guy came over and he was very, I mean, super nice and cordial and took us through and answered all the questions we had. But I mean, it was a nice, good hour that we got to visit him. It was really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I love to do. I mean, let's get in the shop, get our hands dirty, right? Like, want to see it. I want to see it in action. So
So you did that just so you could write off your trip, huh?
I learned from the best, right, Charlie?
Hey, you know, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, come on. How do you think you go traveling around the world? You make sure that you hit a screen print shop in every country, and this way you write off your trip and all is good.
Yep.
I just lost out on a trip. I was supposed to be in Pakistan, and I was mentioning to Cassie. So August 5th, I applied for a expedited visa, and my trip was going to be September. What was it? About September 9th or something like that. 10th, I forget. I figured, okay, I'll spring for the extra money. I want an expedited visa. To this day, I still don't have it. So didn't get a chance to go to. I was supposed to go to Lahore. Of course, they're in
Just
a
let it
lot
go.
of water at the moment. That's where they have a lot of the floods. But finally, I did get out of the country. I did go to Norway. Took my family there. Came back with COVID. We all get gifts on the way home. COVID was mine. So my wife and I both came down with that. But I guess I'm finally going overseas again. In I guess February, I'm going over to Bangladesh again. So kind of looking forward to that. It's been quite a few years since I've been there. Probably the biggest shop I've gone to is the one in Bangladesh. 2 buildings worth, probably about 6 or 7 stories per building. They claim they do 350,000 prints a day. And they've got like 40 automatics. They've got several of the quote unquote digital squeegees, and probably a total of 12 floors of print tables. So pretty interesting place. And the rooftop is a full garden and has homing pigeons that the CEO likes. So there's a room on up there just for the CEO, which has TV and bed and lounge and all that, and the homing pigeons are next to him. Oh, and the owner, yeah, I think the owner lives in England. He doesn't want to live in Bangladesh. Richard, you were in Bangladesh or Sri Lanka?
I was in Bangladesh. 7 different factories, all under one owner.
Owner
So-
that is not located there.
There, no, it's, well, the owner has a house in the building, so to speak, but it was Korean owned, and they have their own, what do they call it? Like a bonded area. that
A
is
compound.
Yeah, their little part, and people live there. And so, in the big one, I say the big one, 10,000 people go to work there.
Yeah. When I was going down to not Honduras or Guatemala, El Salvador, there's a big rotary screen shop there that we actually put Newman roller frames into and stuff. And they have their own quote unquote village with grocery store, hospital, etc. And everybody that works there lives there as well, which is kind of an interesting situation because we really don't have much of that, if at all, in the US.
There was one common denominator in India and Bangladesh in the trips that I've made to both of those countries, and that is the domino effect that if you do not dehumidify, if you cannot dry the air, you tend to use screens once, cut the mesh and throw it away, because undercutting or bad stencils mean that you can't really reclaim them. So reclaiming mentality is not there, all for the want of dehumidification.
Yeah, for the most part, all having been to India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh quite a bit, nobody reclaims because they're all using hardness because they're all doing water-based for the most part. And even when they're not, their screens are hardened automatically. So they could, if they needed to do a reorder immediately, they could, but otherwise they just cut them out and redo them.
So the cost of mesh alone was staggering. And it means retraining the entire world. That was what I pitched to both of the parent companies that brought me over. that go into the dehumidifier business, and they didn't want to think about that. They weren't thinking about the companies that they were serving. They were thinking about their mesh sales and their stencil sales.
You know, it was interesting. I went over there to show some techniques and procedures and some equipment. Showed them how they could save time, save money, and none of them went forward with it. So in talking to the distributor I was with, I said, I don't understand. He said, well, here's the deal. Almost all the owners of these shops do not live here. They all have a general manager that handles everything. And even though you're showing them things that are going to save time and money, they don't want to put it in because the owner is quite happy with what they're getting right now. And they don't want to rock the boat or have the owner come back and say, hey, why didn't you do this any sooner? And so rather than becoming more efficient, they just let things ride because all is well as far as they're concerned. And the owner never knows the difference. And the only way you ever get to make a change in the shop is if you get to deal with the owner, which is a rare situation there. Different mentality than what we have here. Of course, here in the States, it's rare for an owner not to be at a factory. Where there, it's rare, especially on big factories, it's rare for an owner to actually be involved. All they want to do is at the end of the month, they want to see the financial reports and whether or not they've made money. And India is always interesting. I guess now the second richest person in the world is the Indian guy. He just overtook Bezos.
Elon?
No, he's still number one, but Bezos has now dropped down to number 3. Oh, well, I feel so bad for them. I mean, the guy only has, so the Indian guy is only worth $147 billion, which is kind of absurd in India, especially if you know, since you've been there, you know, you go through the country and you're wondering, when I was there quite a few years ago, I remember talking to someone saying, okay, so I get in the cab and the guy puts a little hood over the meter. And I was told, you know, you always ask for the meter to go on. Okay. So I'm thinking, okay, this guy's going to rip me off. And sure enough, he did. It probably was for 50 cents more than what it should have been. Okay. And so in talking to someone from India, I said, so tell me something. What does $1 in India buy? He said, well, you know, for the working class, it buys, for a guy, it buys him a shave and dinner. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding. $1 buys him a shave and dinner. And the answer was, yeah, that's the deal. So the fact that it was supposed to be 150 rupees instead of 200 rupees or whatever, you know, I mean, it was stupid because I would have tipped them more than what the difference was. But nevertheless, that's what $1 buys. So what does $147 billion buy in a country like that? I mean, it's absurd.
Whatever you want.
And more. Yeah.
I think they could fix some problems there with that kind of money.
So I think they showed pictures of his house at one time. I think his house is 6 floors with an elevator. It looks like an office building. You know, like the 3rd floor houses their clothing. It's like, really? Your clothing? Okay. And one of the other floors houses his cars or whatever. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I think the house cost in excess of $1 billion to build, which, you know, considering it's India, I can't even imagine what $1 billion could do in the US in terms of building a house. That's what it was in India. Anyway, we're off the topic of that. He's not a screen printer, so who cares? Bezos, on the other hand, does own a hell of a lot of textile printing equipment. But they buy $500 billion worth of Kornit equipment.
Something like that.
Yeah,
It's quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, $500 million worth of Kornit, which I don't know how long it's going to take to deliver all of it, but
Well, isn't that like, that's only like three machines.
That's because Bezos' wife took care of all the rest, huh?
Right.
Oh, well. Interesting stuff. But yeah, you know, it's funny when you think of companies like Amazon being a competitor. It's almost frightening because, of course, they have an unlimited budget situation. And so fortunately, they're on the digital side. Okay. Somehow I just can't see them buying into a screen print shop, but who knows? Things like that could happen. Anyway. In any event, anybody got anything else to throw out there? Because otherwise, I may as well shut this down early. I'm going to go and eat lunch.
Richard, is that really your mixer behind you?
It is a Greaves mixer that I saw. Where did I see that? In Colombia. So that
Nice.
mixer was actually in Colombia at SCMA, SCMA, which I'm forgetting what it is, but it was a school-like place in Bogota. And I was in England perhaps 4 or 5 months later and made my way and went to the Joshua Greaves factory, and they did not seem too impressed that my name was Greaves. And I was just interested in making friends. It was kind of like, yeah. So
So did you tell them that you were a long lost relative and that you actually own a percentage of the company and would like to discuss it with them?
it didn't, it reminded me of the time when I was maybe 17 years old and I was skiing in Salt Lake City. And I saw a military man in a Denny's, and his name was Greaves. And I'd never met anyone named Greaves. And I said, "Excuse me, sir, my name's Richard Greaves. I'm from Milwaukee." And he goes, "Oh, okay, yeah." And it has not been an icebreaker yet. So I tell people I'm an astronaut.
Hmm.
That's what gets the girls at the bar. I tell them I'm in the academy, and they go, yeah. So doesn't seem to get the girls at the bar.
We can make you a Space Force shirt if you'd like.
Thunderbirds go.
Oh, well. Cassie, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah. No, this has been great. Thanks for having me.
And look forward to getting together with you for coffee, but certainly looking forward to catching up with you once we get to Vegas.
Yeah.
And hopefully you jump in and get into the Academy luncheon. Usually it's pretty good, and if Kaz is there, he usually gets to pull the wine for us. Of course, it's never French wine, even though it should be, but which is
Yeah.
unfortunate. The first time I had him speak at my open house years and years ago, I said, "Michelle, what's it going to take to get you to my open house?" He said,
Jeez.
"A bottle of Bordeaux on the counter." Okay, I could do that. Or not, I take it back, not Bordeaux, it was Burgundy. And I didn't have any knowledge of wines at the time. I'm thinking, what the hell is a Burgundy? So I had to go and check it out with some friends. Now I'm a big Burgundy drinker as opposed to Bordeaux. Bordeaux's give me a headache, but Burgundies don't. In any event,
Burgundy is the color of a t-shirt.
that it is. And Bordeaux is the color of a stain on a tie when you drink wine. But in any event, thanks all for being on. I did record this. It will be put onto my website. And so look forward to catching all of you guys in about 2 weeks or so.
It's great seeing everybody.
Be fun.
Terrific. Thanks all.
Talk to you later,
Yeah,
Cassie.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye now.